Long ago, in ancient Japan, there lived a renowned scholar named Takeshi. He had studied at the most prestigious academies, mastered philosophy, literature, and law, and held an esteemed position in the emperor's court. People bowed when he walked by. His words were quoted in books. He believed he understood all there was to know, but something gnawed at him, a feeling that despite all his knowledge, something essential was still missing. One evening at a gathering of nobles, Takeshi overheard a traveler speak of a Zen master who lived high in the mountains, said to possess wisdom beyond words. Master Ryokan, the traveler said, knows the way of peace, clarity, and purpose, not from books, but from being. Intrigued and perhaps a little offended, Takeshi announced, "I shall visit this master and test his so-called wisdom." His friends tried to dissuade him. Why seek the advice of a man who wears rags and sleeps on mats when you dine with emperors and read ancient scrolls? But Takeshi, though proud, was restless. Deep down, he sensed that knowledge alone had not brought him peace. After days of travel through winding paths and mist-covered cliffs, Takeshi arrived at a humble temple surrounded by pines and quiet wind. There, under the shade of a flowering cherry tree, sat Master Ryokan, sweeping leaves with gentle precision. "I am Takeshi," the scholar said, bowing only slightly. "I have come to learn your wisdom." The master looked up and smiled softly. "Ah, come, let us have tea." Inside the small hut, the walls were bare, the floor swept clean, the only furniture a wooden table and two cushions. Takeshi sat, adjusting his fine robes, and began listing his credentials. "I have studied the sacred texts of 5 religions, debated with scholars across the empire, and advised the emperor himself. I wish to know what more you can teach me." Master Ryokan said nothing. He simply began to pour tea into a small clay cup in front of Takeshi. The scholar watched, confused, as the cup filled, then overflowed. Tea spilled onto the table and soaked into his sleeve. "Stop! The cup is full," he cried. Ryokan looked at him calmly. "Exactly. Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions, conclusions, and pride. How can I offer you wisdom unless you first empty your cup?" Takeshi stared at the dripping tea. The silence in the room grew heavy, like snowfall. For the first time in years, he was speechless. His titles, his lectures, his accomplishments suddenly felt like ornaments on an empty robe. He had come not to learn, but to prove, and in doing so, he had learned nothing. That night, Takeshi did not return to the city. He stayed at the temple, swept the courtyard, fetched water, sat in silence, and watched the wind ripple through the trees. Days turned into weeks. He began asking simple questions. He stopped quoting. He started listening. He learned not from books, but from watching how the master walked, how he ate, how he laughed softly when a bird landed on his shoulder. After many months, Takeshi prepared to return to his old life, but he was no longer the same man. Before leaving, he bowed low before Master Ryokan, not from obligation, but from humility. "Thank you, Master," he said. "Before my mind was like a storm. Now it is more like this tea, warm, present, and still." Ryokan smiled. "And now you may begin to learn." Takeshi returned to the capital not as a scholar of ego, but as a humble student of life. He taught not from pride, but from presence. He spoke less, listened more, and in doing so, changed the hearts of many. In his study, beside ancient scrolls, he kept a single cracked teacup, a reminder of the day he first began to understand. True learning begins not when we speak, but when we listen. Not when we are full, but when we are empty, ready to receive.